Welcome to Sarah Talks Food. Today I get to sit down with Ryan Theriault. He is an equine specialist at Tranquil Acres. He's the founder of this amazing place. And basically his story is that he started this because he wanted to give back, to help others, and to help us all know that we can absolutely heal ourselves from the inside out. Equine therapy, if you're not familiar with it, it can help people that are struggling with depression, anxiety, addiction issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, and so many other issues that we're all kind of walking around dealing with. And using the horses is just an amazing way to help us to heal. So I can't wait for you to enjoy this conversation with Ryan as much as I did. So tell me about Tranquil Acres. I know that you've been running this place for many years, and I want to learn more about what happens here at Tranquil Acres.
That's right. Well, I was, my dream and passion was actually owning a farm with horses and having horses to help people, partnering with the horses. Because as a child, I've learn how horses have helped me to be a stronger person. And
how did you learn that?
I always wanted horses, and I always had a super interest in horses since I was about 4 or 5. And my parents was always, they always said no. They're very expensive. It's a lot of work. They cost a lot of money, and the answer is no. Like, we're not in a financial situation, and we're not into a situation that we can have horses. And so if you'd ever talk to my parents, they would tell you how many times that I cried because I wanted horses, how many times they were frustrated and screaming and shouting because the answer is no.
You were not getting horses.
And finally, about age 12, 13, I started working, cutting lawns, shoveling snow, and saving my money to buy my own riding lessons. So that's how I was I knew that there was something about horses that I just loved. And going through high school, it was a rough time. Like, I think you can probably relate to high school. It's pretty rough. And most people have a rough time in high school, and horses have really saved me in teenage years and really taught me who I was, growing up in a small town. And then things progressed, and horses are always part of my life, and I learned more. And then I worked, in summer camps with horses, and as a counselor, and with troubled youth, and then I just knew that there was something about it, and I just knew that I wanted.
Were your parents supportive of that? Were your parents happy that you were getting involved with horses?
Not really, no. Because they just still didn't get it, and they only got it in 2011. When I called them up and said, you know what, I'm quitting a corporate job, a well-paying job and a career that I had, to buy a farm. And the first thing was like, are you crazy? Over the phone. And since 2011, I had all the questions of how are you going to make this work, and how you sure you want to quit your job? You have a pension. And I was like, I'm miserable every day going to work. And I know that I'm not making a difference what I'm doing. And I know that the horses, I can make a difference in people's lives.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love anybody that really is passionate and driven to make a difference.
That's right.
I think that, so many people, like you say, have the pension and they've got the golden handcuffs, and they stay in a job because they just look at it and say, I can never make this much money elsewhere.
That's the thing.
I'll have to start all over again. The fear of jumping in and doing something that, is scary, the unknown. I mean, I just give you so much, respect for doing that, and just saying, I know that I might be leaving something behind, but imagine the possibilities if I take that leap.
And that's the thing. And, when people ask me, how did it happen, I'll admit, it wasn't easy. Dreams are not easy to make happen, for sure,
For sure.
My first couple years in business, I'm quitting a job and moving and starting a new business.
So you quit the job in Halifax?
It was actually in Ottawa. So,
okay. So you had already moved here?
Yep. So I had already moved here. I've been in Ottawa for about 9 years. And in 2011, I decided to make that leap. So because I kept on looking at farms and it's like, oh, they're too expensive. Like, this is never going to be affordable. And then started looking at the positive side of things. You know, if I want to change, I'm the only one that can make that change. And how am I going to make that change? And, you know, do I want to go to work every day feeling shitty about it? So that was the change. And, you know, when I started looking at the positive side of things, how can I make that change happen? And I want to make that change happen. So, you know, I have to, with the advice of other people and sometimes the negative part of other people, making you realize, you know, well, how are you going to afford that? Well, you know, it's not their responsibility to make it happen for me. So putting that aside and looking at, you know, okay, so how am I going to, you know, make this work? What do I need to do? And
so what did you need to do? Maybe let's delve into that a little bit. So it is expensive to buy a farm and buy horses and get your dream going. How did you do it?
Well, there was a lot of sacrifices. So, you know, not going on vacations, not spending a couple weeks in Cuba, you know, in the winter months, and really taking that risk, you know, and looking at, you know, what is the risk? So yes, all my life saving, everything that I own, is it worth putting that into an investment to make my life happy? And what happens if if that fails? What are the risks? And I was okay and comfortable about taking that risk, about losing everything, you know, per se, because I knew that I would learn from that if that would have to happen. So then I made the leap, and I purchased the farm, and I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. So a lot of people, you know, say you must have had a really good business plan. Well, I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't.
Do you regret that? Not having had? No. Yeah.
Because, you know, every bank you go to, and I was in the bank industry, so every bank you go to, every financial advisor you go to, you know, it's like, you need that business plan, you need that solid business plan. And I didn't know what the business was going to be. So how could I build that business plan? And I'm not saying that this is the right way to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
This was the right way for me.
Yes.
As a young entrepreneur, I remember that I follow kind of where the industry is, and I follow what my beliefs are. So if I believe in it, then it will progress.
So what did you know? You knew you wanted a farm, you knew you wanted horses, and you knew you wanted to give back and to make a difference.
I knew that I wanted the combination of horses and helping people on the mental health side of things. There's a lot of different programs out there that allow people into horse programs to help them with a disability or to help them with physical limitations. So if they're in a wheelchair, or if they're, if you know, whatever it may be, that's if the physical aspect of riding. So I knew I didn't want to go into that physical aspect of hippotherapy or therapeutic riding per se. I knew I wanted to help people on the mental health side. And for example, as myself, I knew that for me, hanging at the barn made all the chitter chatter in my mind and all the stress go away. It was being myself in the barn, and I was
grooming the horses and being in their energy,
just sitting in the paddock. You know, that's ultimately my favorite time, is sitting in the paddock and just listening them to chew that grass and graze. So then when I moved here, you know, I started doing some research, like different Google searches, and I found this great program called EAGALA. And EAGALA stands for Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association. And they're based out of Utah. And more searches that I've done, learned that actually they were across the world.
Oh, wow.
And so when I started with EAGALA, I called them up and said, you know, I want to be trained in the model that you guys do. And so they asked me if I would be open to host a training in this part of Canada. Yeah. And I said, absolutely, you know, what do I need to do? And since 2012, we've been running the trainings for EAGALA as pretty much a train-the-trainer through EAGALA. And since EAGALA's been out there for 16 or 17 years now, and that model is in 50 countries around the world. And we have about 5,000 members through that organization that's been trained under the EAGALA model. So the way that the program works is, so pretty much what we do is we facilitate mental health, partner with horses in equine-assisted psychotherapy and equine-assisted personal development.
So walk me through it when somebody decides, well, first of all, how does somebody decide or even know? And this is why I really wanted to talk to you today. I want people to know that this is available. So if people are suffering from depression, anxiety, addiction issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, these kinds of mental health issues, this is an opportunity to work with a horse and a human.
That's right.
At the same time, as opposed to sort of going to an office and sitting with a therapist.
That's right.
Okay.
So pretty much what it will look like. So when you get here, so usually, we greet the client from the driveway pretty much. Yeah. And then we will have two professionals. So we'll have a certified equine specialist. So that's what pretty much my title would be. Okay. So a certified equine specialist and also a certified mental health professional. Okay. So that would be a registered psychotherapist, a therapist with a master's or a counselor or social work degree. So they are governed under the law of Ontario to practice mental health. And so we are two professionals into the session with the horses, and the horses are so they might be one horse, they might be multiple horses. It really depends on the client and what we're working on and the information that we know of that client. Because each client, depending on the body language that you're projecting as well, the horses are going to pick up on that, and the horses are gonna shift and move around that particular. So the horses pretty much are biofeedback. It's almost like a biofeedback machine of 1,000 pounds.
And so you would then know with the reaction of the horse what is going on with the client, even if they're not verbalizing that.
That's right. So that's why we have an equine specialist and a mental health professional. So the equine specialist is going to share to the mental health professional, I've never seen the horses do that, or I know the horses do that when they're really nervous, or the person is really nervous. I mean,
you'll be doing that in private after the client is no longer around?
We would be standing away from the client. Okay. So the client would be in one area. So that's where the training comes in, and that's why it's important. So the human, the support team might be away from the client. We might give some tasks to the client as well. So, just go up and introduce yourself.
To the horse?
Yeah. And if that's not, and it really depends. So there's a level of becoming uncomfortable a little bit. So some clients might say, like, how do I do that? In human, we shake hands. Right. But how do I do that with horses?
How do you do that with horses?
There's no right or wrong. So it could be whichever way that you choose.
And is that part of the task where you say you just, whatever way you feel that you want to introduce
Because horses
yourself?
don't judge.
Right.
So that is, that is the huge thing with the horses. With humans, even though we say we maybe don't judge, we judge, we create the stereotypes, Yeah. So.
I bet that's a big part of why you love horses, and part of why I have always loved horses. That feeling of, I'm not being judged by them. I didn't realize it until you just said it now. I don't think I realized why I've loved horses so much.
That's right.
But maybe that's part of it, is that they don't judge.
They don't care if you put makeup on, if you've been crying, if you're depressed, if you're sad, if you're excited. They don't care the color of your pants or the color of your boots. They absolutely don't care about that. And
what do they care about?
They care about if you project your emotions. So if you are sad, then inside, then you project the sadness. So if you're showing two different emotions, so if you're really, sad inside because you've lost a loved one and you're having a hard time grieving, but on the outside you're okay. I'm happy. I'm not sad. That is what they don't like.
Oh wow!
And so being congruent. So the outside emotions match the inside emotions. And how many times do we don't even know that we're not being congruent?
Totally.
The horses will call you out on your bluff. Wow. And when I say call out on your bluff, it's not that, they're going to go and kick you.
Right.
They're going to do unnatural behaviors. They're going to do different shifts and patterns to create that experience. So as a certified equine specialist, I know my horses very well. I work with them 7 days a week. And you know, I pretty much am with the horses and clients for about, you know, anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a day with them.
Yeah.
So I know what is kind of their usual behavior when there's clients in there and when there's no clients. And so I can share that, or I can pick up things and share that with the client. You know, what does that mean to you? It doesn't mean what it means to me. So, you know, if the horse walks away, or if the horse goes and butts on their chest, so what is that for you? And then, you know, allowing them to come up with their own cause and their own story. So pretty much we're allowing the clients to tell their own story through the horses. So it takes the pressure off of them. So it takes the pressure off of, you know, I'm depressed and I'm sad, and that's why I drink. And so it takes it away from that, and it projects it back onto the horses. So it makes it more okay. And it's kind of sad that, you know, that's where today's society is, that you have to project that on a horse, that we can't even take that blame. And that's kind of like the normalization of society today. And that's where this works usually a lot faster than in office therapy. If people are struggling in office therapy, then this might be a really good alternative for that person. And then also, any question that we ask in this model, in this treatment model, is not for us to get the answers. So it allows the client to not necessarily share if they don't want to.
Okay.
So it's the questions that we ask is always asked in a way that we don't expect an answer back.
Okay.
And if you don't want to share, that's totally okay, because a lot of times we don't want to share that, and a lot of times we'll invite you to go and share it with a horse that resonates with you. And because people have been burnt so many times of trust, you know, they'll tell someone, and it's really important, it really is raw for them, and then they get hurt even more after they talk about it.
Yep.
So we'll invite them to share with a horse if they choose to, because the horses will never tell anyone else.
Yes,
They're great secret keepers.
Yeah.
And that's what was, going back to my childhood, that was what was the most rewarding thing for me, and that's what I remember the most, is them horses kept my secrets. Because every time I told something to someone that seemed to be really hurtful for me, they would just, you know, get over it. It's nothing. You know, it's okay. You know, you're just worrying for nothing. And how many times are we in treatment, or we're sharing with loved ones about, you know, I'm anxious and because of XYZ, and then they're like, oh, that's nothing, you know, get over it. And
they think they're doing us a favor, because they just want to say, like, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. You don't have to be so stressed. They're not understanding that they just need to hold space and allow us to share that, so that then we can move through those emotions and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but when I was asking before, so what is the perfect outcome? Let's say I come to you, I'm broken down, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm dealing with an addiction, and I come and I meet with you, and I meet with the horses, and I work with you. What's the outcome? What's the best possible scenario?
It will give you coping skills. It will give you tools to walk out in life with. So by, you know, a new word that I like using is it's normalizing the situation. So not necessarily that it's normal, but it makes it more comfortable to live in. So when I think of, you know, when I pass in front of the liquor store, I get really anxious. Or when I go to a restaurant and the person beside me is you know, having a beer, it makes me anxious. You know, doing situations and doing different experiences with the horses, you know, we can bring, if that's something that makes you anxious, then we can bring it with the horses. We can kind of, it's almost like role playing with the horses. And that will make you more comfortable into that situation.
That's so awesome.
So when you fall back into that in a situation likewise, then you can think back of what did you do with the horses to not go there.
Yeah. And so is that something that you would do then? You would basically say, you would talk to me and you would say, what makes you anxious? what are some issues that you want to deal with? And I'll say going to a restaurant's really challenging, or when my family is all drinking and I'm not able to have a drink, I'll use my own example. And that sometimes happens for me where I just get, I guess I'll use the word anxious, where it's just frustrating, or I just kind of think, you know, it's kind of unfair that I can't drink, but everybody around me is all drinking. And so that would be something that you would say, okay, let's talk about that here. And then I would then role play with the horse.
I would probably go in and say, how about if you create that experience? How about if you create that Christmas dinner?
Yes.
You know, if that's what makes you anxious right now, I'm going to invite you. We have a bunch of props here, and I'm going to give you, you know, some time to create Christmas dinner. And then give you that time, and then the horses are loose in that arena, and how the horses interact while you're creating that experience. And when you're done, then, you know, myself and the mental health professional are going to be talking about what is the next step that we're going to be taking. Seeing the situation, seeing your body language, seeing how you're projecting that, how the horses are projecting that, and then, you know, then we might say, okay, so now we're going to invite you to bring the horses, you know, the horse that is, you know, if you label the horses your family, then we're going to bring your family into Christmas dinner. And then seeing how that happens. So some people might see that, you know, it's going to be, you know, that they don't want Uncle Tom in there, and then, you know, maybe he's the issue. You know, maybe every time that Uncle Tom comes to supper, he's the one that says, oh, well, you know, you want to drink. And then he knows that you can't. So maybe he's the root cause. So how are we going to work out with Uncle Tom, you know?
And let's keep going with this. What can we do with Uncle Tom when Uncle Tom's not willing to change? Uncle Tom's going to keep drinking and doing what he's going to do. How do we then keep bringing it to me?
So then what do you need to do with Uncle Tom to be more comfortable? So then we're going to allow the client to come up with their own answers. Because in natural life, we very dislike getting inputs and getting suggestions.
Do we really?
And getting advice.
Do we? I guess that's probably true. We probably just want to figure it all out ourselves, and we don't want to take anybody else's advice.
So when we come up with our own ideas, it's always better. And that's where it sticks. And so then, you know, we have sometimes clients, you know, in that situation, well, what do I tell Uncle Tom? I don't know. What are you going to tell him? And then, you know, we're going to invite you to go and talk to Uncle Tom about that, you know, or go and show Uncle Tom what to do about that. So, you know, you may come up with a bunch of different strategies. You might, you know, confront Uncle Tom in a different tone or in a different demeanor, and allowing the client to figure that out, and then how the client is going to stand up for themselves, you know. That is going to resonate, and they're going to remember that experience. So that's the equine assisted learning part, is learning by doing. So I can tell you how to ride a bike over the phone and tell you, you know, it's easy, you know, come on, it's easy. You know, just get on the pedals and then just go. Just go. And then, but until you get to ride the bike, you know, you don't know how to ride the bike. So this is, you know, life situations, unless we know. So it's very vague, for that reason, to allow the clients to, you know, to get what I would say uncomfortable, to become comfortable. So life situations, real life situations, always, or almost, you know, always is uncomfortable at first, and it becomes more easy. And so that's why we practice with the horses, because the horses are not going to judge, and they're going to give you some time to figure that out.
I love it. It sounds like such an honest way to work through our situations and our crap.
Yeah.
You know, really, a really honest, real way. Because again, like you were saying, the horses, they won't take it. You know, they don't like incongruency, so they will call you on it. I love the sounds of this. It's
They'll
truly
call you on your
amazing.
BS every time. And
I love it.
You know, we had a client once that came and had been in counseling for about 15 years. And with this
Can you
client,
tell us for why? For what?
It was depression, anxiety, anxious. And every time that this client would be driving to see the therapist, they would rehearse the story of why they're, this is going to be my story. I'm going to tell them this. It's just, it's like, it's 50 minutes that I have to kind of, just get the story. So I have to make up the story for 50 minutes.
Wow.
And then it's going to be done, for the rest of the, whatever, month or weeks or whatever they see the therapist. And the thing that this client shared after this first session was the horses didn't allow me to lie. The horses, I couldn't bluff. I couldn't rehearse. I had rehearsed the story, and the horses didn't take it. And that at that time, it made this client realize that that they can't lie with the horses. And because of that, then it made it okay.
Yeah. I just love this idea that this is all about really being truthful with who we are, and I find it really fascinating that the idea here is that's really hard for us to be really truthful with who we are. And I mean, I know as an alcoholic, I mean, we're known to be liars. As any addict, like you just, I'm fine, I didn't drink too much, or, I don't have a problem, or whatever it is. I mean, I just, I can really relate to that idea of not being truthful, and I just think what an amazing space to be able to, to not lie, to really be who you really are.
And it goes right down to the root cause. They accept you where you're at, and it progresses. And the great thing about this too is, there's some aha moments that you'll have maybe right away. There's some aha moments that you'll have while you're driving back home. There's some aha moments that will happen the week after, the month after, the year after. I have clients that call me sometimes after a few days, a few weeks, and say, "Oh my God, that wasn't that. This was this situation." Wow. So it's something that progresses. And sometimes if they see us weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, sometimes it will carry through to one session to the other. Or sometimes we have one person that might be coming for addictions, and when they come, maybe they shared over an email or a phone that this is what I want to share, or this is what I want to work on. But when they come, it's actually grief, or it's actually depression, or it's actually something else. Or sometimes they don't really realize. With this, we don't necessarily need to have a diagnosis. But we can, the horses, they don't care about the labels. They're gonna assist you wherever it is. And a lot of times they will surface different things. And that's why we have the mental health professional.
I'm curious about the horses. Do you have to specifically choose horses that will be able to provide this kind of therapy, or would any horse be able to?
Any horse can. So what we always say is, as long as they got 4 legs, they got a heartbeat, and they're emotionally and mentally and physically stable, they can do this type of work.
Physically, do they need people to help? They need people to help them get real.
No, it's exactly like, and we have this. A lot of people, they always, we get about 5 emails a week on people wanting to give us courses.
Oh, wow.
Because they had an injury, or because they're really old, and they're bomb-proof. We don't necessarily want bomb-proof horses.
What does bomb-proof mean?
That they'll never spook. They'll just you want to work with them, they'll just stand there, and they won't flinch. A bomb could go off and they won't flinch. We want horses with different attitudes, with different temperaments, with different things. We want different personalities, because we're all different personalities.
It's a great way to look at it.
So we really want them to match different people. And
so tell me about this one, the spotted one over here. What's his or her name?
So, for example, in the equine assisted psychotherapy model, I would ask the client who or what does that represent for you, or what do you want to call that one? And I would even share if it's a male or a female, and because that might make a difference with that client. Wow. It allows them to make their own judgments. It's like, because in today's society, again, we're so good at, if I'm going to introduce you to someone, I'm like, oh, Sarah, she's great, she's young, she's like upbeat, she's friendly, I'm going to project my own projection that I had of one person to another person, and to kind of paint the picture of what they're like before they meet them. Instead of allowing them to just meet them and make their own judgment. Yeah, I like them, or no, I don't like them.
Wow.
So again, with the horses, we allow them to make their own judgment. And that's why purposely on the website we have just their name on the website.
And sort of unisex names.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, and we make sure that, it's not, it's not thunder or, to make that preconceived idea. And so we have our bios as the human team on there, so they can judge us.
Yeah.
But we don't want them to judge the horses, because the horses are going to be their treatment partners.
And so you can't even say that this horse on the left is, gentler, or is, so they're all going to just be projecting what's inside the client at the time.
That's right. Because how would that change things for you if I'm like, oh, be careful, that one bites.
Right.
And then you're probably not going to go and see that one. And that might represent you the closest, or, when
So
people get close to me, I snap, so it allows them to, and a lot of times clients will see themselves through the horses. So that one always reminds me of me, because it always needs to be around other people. I always need to be around other people. And I always choose people that are smaller than me, because I like to empower them. Or I'm always eating, or sometimes, in some sessions, working with people with eating disorders, sometimes, the skinny horse that you can see sometimes the ribs, oh, that one's so fat, so different things. And so it allows them to, there's no right or wrong. And I've learned to not take that as an offense, because it's our horses, and because the horses don't, if you say that they're ugly, they don't get offended. So it's okay.
Man, what a life to be a horse.
I know. So we teach
Never
people how to be a little bit more horse-like.
Honestly.
And how life can be so much easier.
Oh my gosh, and I have to say, any horse people that I've met, they all seem to be very great people, just very cool people, including yourself.
Thank you.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this.
Very welcome.
I really enjoyed it, and I hope people get to know you a little bit more. I'll send the links to your website down below. I know you have a retreat center as well.
That's right.
And I was also wondering, can you do more? Do you ever treat more than one person at a time?
We do. So we have groups that we facilitate as well. So we do some of the groups that we do is like a 2-hour. Some of them is a half a day. Some of them is a full day. And also we have a retreat program. So right now, so we do a lot of custom building, and then also they don't necessarily have to have mental health issues. It could be a workplace. So we do corporate retreats as well. We do corporate workshops. So if it's
like team building exercises.
Yeah, so we call it team discovery.
Yeah.
So it really helps the team to kind of come up with different scenarios, with different shifts and patterns into their workplace. So that falls under equine assisted learning. So we're not going to dive into the emotions of where's your anxiety coming from in the group. So we're very professional that way, that we stick by some close rules. And then we have our guest house that's off-site, just down the road, 5 kilometers. And so then we drive our clients from the guest house to the farm, and then we put different activities in there as well. So some mindfulness, some yoga, so some qigong, or some nature walks, some different in-house projects and stuff as well. And then the guest house came in because we have a program called H.E.L.P, so Heroes Equine Learning Program, that's geared towards the first responders. So our firefighters, our police officers, our paramedics, our correctional officers, and our 911 dispatchers, and the military as well, that are facing post-traumatic stress or operational stress injuries in a retreat program. And that program there, so we try to offer it at no cost to the participants for 3 days. And in them 3 days, they have 2 equine learning sessions a day with the horses, and then we do a series of different activities as well within them 3 days, and then all accommodation and meals are provided within them 3 days.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
and how many does it accommodate, the guest house?
So right now we can accommodate up to 5. And then we, as the business grows, we hope to expand onto our capacity there as well. So we hope to be able to accommodate up to 10.
What an amazing service. Honestly, what an opportunity for people. I hope and I'm assuming this is busy, and you are, you're saying that it's building. I imagine it's going to be growing by leaps and bounds.
It's growing, and for example, that the H.E.L.P program, like we've been fundraising a lot to be able to accommodate them, our first responders. So as soon as we get our funds, so pretty much we sell our service at cost for that program, and so just to make sure that things get covered, and so we're constantly fundraising for that program.
Amazing. Well, I'll put information about H.E.L.P below this video as well, for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah. No. Oh my gosh, I just love what you're doing. It's an amazing business, and I'm so glad that you took that leap of faith.
Yes.
In 2011, did you say?
Yes.
Amazing.
And I've never regretted it, for sure. So it's been a very cool journey, on seeing where it's it started, and now we do this 7 days a week. So. And
where do you see it in, let's say, 5 years?
I see it growing, and I see it helping a lot more people. And that's where it's very outside the box. So the people are a little hesitant about it. And there's a lot more research as well. So, the EAGALA website is full of research. And if anybody has questions as well, so and insurance providers are starting to recognize it as well.
Excellent.
So it depends on, what kind of insurance people have, but any questions, for sure, they can always email us or give us a call.
Well, all of that information is down below, as well as your Facebook and your Twitter. Perfect. I know that you're on there. Is there anything else that you would love our viewers to know about Tranquil Acres, or about you, or about your horses?
I just, kind of my word of wisdom is just kind of follow what what makes your heart sing. It's and everything else will kind of come together. So
I love that. Anderson Cooper's mother is Gloria Vanderbilt, and she said, "Follow your bliss."
Yes, exactly.
And he said it was the best advice she ever gave him. She wasn't necessarily the best mother to him, I don't think, over the years. And he says that, but he said, "But that was the best advice that she ever gave me." And I think you're saying those words too. Follow your bliss. Whatever makes your heart sing.
Yeah, and we need to, in today's society, we need to take care of ourselves. That whole philosophy of taking care of others doesn't necessarily happen as easy as it used to. So I think that we need to take that leap and do it for ourselves, and do what we need to do to before helping others.
Well, and I think a lot of people are saying, self-care isn't selfish.
Yes.
If we aren't donning our own oxygen mask before we're trying to help everybody else, we're really not doing a service to the world or to ourselves, and we're hurting our health and the health of the planet. I think it all has to start just with us. We can't
That's the thing.
do it for everybody else.
And that's a huge thing that we practice in our retreats is self-care, and learning what is self-care, and learning that it's not a week's vacation. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 2 minutes out of your day to do your self-care. So different techniques and different tools to put in that toolbox, and what works for that person. So it's
and not necessarily leaving a corporate job and
jumping
into owning a farm.
Thing. Yeah.
But it might be.
Yeah.
But it might
be. Whatever it is,
Thank you so much for today.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
What a day.
I know, I love it.
I was so happy to learn more about equine therapy and what they do here at Tranquil Acres. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as well, and maybe some aha moments were revealed to you, and maybe a thought that you might want to come here as well. I have to say, for me, and I know for Roger as well, that being out here for a few hours, being with the horses, being able to interact with them has been an amazing experience. The energy is incredible, and I can only imagine what it would feel like to actually have a session with the two professionals out here and with those horses. They are amazing animals. I love the idea that they do not judge, and it's just our stuff that's being projected onto them, and then they get to project it back. I just think that we can all use this kind of lesson in our life. I want you to love your life one bite at a time.